the main reason for going with the lease. And it was actually cheaper per month to do the lease than it was to put, say, 20,000 down. I was looking at it from the standpoint, like, these things are more or less worthless after 2 years. They're ready to go out to pasture.
Hey there, Skid Steer Nation. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Skid Steer Nation podcast, where we're going to dig deep into the stories of those who are making waves in the land service industry. I'm your host, Ryan Deemer, and today we have a great guest lined up for you. Joining us is Peyton Wilson, the owner of Wilson Land Management, based in Broussard, Louisiana. Peyton's been in the game since 2018, transitioning from oil field sales to mastering the art of forestry mulching and land clearing. He started part-time, moved to full-time operations in 2020, and today he's here to share his experiences, lessons, and insights into running a successful land management business. Before we dive into the interview, a quick note about Skid Steer Nation. If you're in the land management business, like Peyton Wilson, and looking for a top-quality American-made skid steer attachments, Skid Steer Nation has got you covered. Whether you need a heavy-duty brush cutter, a versatile grapple bucket, or a dominating tree puller, we provide the right tools to help you get the job done efficiently and effectively. Visit skidsteernation.com and elevate your excavation game with our range of products designed to help you rule your excavation niche. Remember, having the right attachments can make all the difference in providing professional and efficient land clearing and mulching services, just like Peyton. And of course, a shout out to Groundbreaking Growth, our business coaching program dedicated to helping excavation and land management business owners define, profit, and scale their business. If you're ready to take your business to the next level, our program offers tailored strategies, actionable insights, and the support you need to succeed. Join the community of thriving business owners who have transformed their companies with our expert guidance. Learn more and schedule your free discovery call at groundbreakinggrowth.com. All right, let's get into this. Peyton, welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you here. And to kick things off, I just wanted to ask you to tell us a little bit about your background and what led you to start Wilson Land Management.
Yeah, so good to be here. It's exciting. So I've always been really just infatuated with equipment. I knew that's really what I wanted to do, but you know how that is, the stuff's expensive. So we always had tractors and stuff like that. So I was in oil field sales, and I was actually managing that company's hunting properties. So I was doing all the bush hogging. We'd rent the mulchers and all that stuff and go in there and clean stuff up. Man, this is a lot of fun. So I guess about 2018, I took the tractor and I started running Facebook ads, doing bush hogging and stuff like that while I was still with the oil field company. And I mean, it kind of just started really snowballing with just the bush hogging alone. Then I started getting more calls for these jobs, and I'd go look at them like, man, I need to get a mulcher. I did a little market research. There really wasn't anybody at the time doing it around here. And around here is not like Georgia and all these guys you see on some of these Facebook pages. I mean, if you got a 10-acre clearing job down here, that's huge. Most of our stuff is really just sub 1 acre, just overgrown. We call them chicken trees. Other might call them tallow. But that's really my bread and butter, is dealing with those, because if you don't bush hog it for a year or two, they just shoot right up. And so in 2020, I got a promotion and a pay cut in the oil field in the same day. And I got to looking around, and I bought I did a long-term lease on a Bobcat T770. Horrible idea to lease those things for the mulching business. But so yeah, I did that, and I just took a leap of faith. I ran one Facebook ad and got about 60 messages off the bat. So the next week I turned in my 2 weeks notice, and the company said, look, man, go chase your dream, go do it. And I still do work for the company to this day. Probably about twice a year I'm doing something for them. But yeah, ever since then, it's kind of just, it's been growing, growing, growing. We're in a little bit of a weird time right now. Seems like people are really wanting to hold on to their money, but I mean, the jobs are still rolling in. They're not rolling in like they were, but I think it's election year and just all of that stuff. People wanting to see what's going to happen, but staying busy. That's the main thing. We're staying busy. We don't have a huge backlog, 2 or 3 month backlog like I did last year, but staying steady, and that's really all that you can ask for right now.
Yeah, and I've been in the equipment sales industry for 12, 13 years now.
Uh-huh.
And I'll tell you, there's something about election years. People are just unsettled. They just kind of sit tight a little bit more than normal.
Yeah, I mean, it's just you bid the jobs, but the jobs never get done. Like I'll go pass back by jobs I bid, and they're still growing. Well, there was one. I don't know who the fellow was, but I bid a job for, I think it was like $3,500. Winning bid was $650. I was like, man,
$650?
$650. So some, I don't know, weekend warrior, whatever you want to call him, doesn't know how to price a job. And even that job's still standing. I don't know if they told me that just to try to get me to match that price, which that's just stupid. But those trees are still there. He might have just backed out of it knowing he couldn't do it.
Yeah. 650. I guess your operating costs are going to be more than that.
That's not even the fuel. Like right. These things burn. These things are drinking diesel.
Yeah.
But it's a weird market down here right now. We're just rolling with the punches, trying to get through it. Just waiting for it to bounce back.
I know exactly what you mean, man. We're seeing some dips and valleys and peaks with our even equipment sales with you guys. So I'm talking to a lot of customers. The common response is, I'll call you back in 3, 4, 6 weeks.
Yep. I mean, you just got to take it one day at a time right now. Capitalize on the opportunities you do get and just do the best job you can do.
Yeah, that's where, I mean, any business this is helpful with, but like we've built what we call the daily winning formula for every one of our team members. And I'm like, whether it's phone calls, emails, marketing, website updates, you name it. But I mean, things aren't growing as quick as they used to on the trees. So you got to make sure you're disciplined to do the little things every day and follow up. And that's really been my saving grace right now, is just calling up old customers, and 9 times out of 10, they have more they want you to go do, and they know the work you do. So you got the job. So that's really what I've been focusing on right now. That's a great technique. I think more guys need to do that, especially been in business for a couple of years. Like follow up old customers, ask for referrals. Yeah.
I mean, that's it's a great tool. It's free. I say free. I don't know if it's so much advertising, but it's free advertising. You're not, because Facebook's gotten so bad. I don't know about your news feed when you're scrolling. There's nobody I follow on my feed anymore. It's all recommended pages and sponsored ads. So it seems like Facebook's really gone kind of the way of the dodo as far as advertisement goes and boosted posts and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've noticed that my personal posts and even the ones in our private Skid Steer Nation community group, they just don't have very big of a reach like they used to get.
Yeah, I mean, you used to do I remember, I guess it was a year or two ago, $200 was the minimum you could spend. You could get 15, 20 leads off of $200 in 5 days. And now they've got your minimum set at, I want to say like $475 for 5 days. Oh, wow. And it's just, it's more people asking for a job than it is people wanting work done. That's kind of word of mouth is really going to save you right now if you've been in business long enough and have a good reputation. That's just kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I think word of mouth is huge. Referral systems and your Google business profile.
Yeah, all that's good stuff. I had there's 2 website companies around here, and it didn't seem like the Google thing was just working out. I couldn't find my websites, and it was horrible.
Well, the Google Business Profile is different than your website. It's actually an account you create, you verify your business. You can put your hours, your phone number, a list of your services, some pictures, and you kind of treat it like a social media site. Like when you look for like restaurant near me, those listings are all coming from the Google Business Profiles.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I said earlier, I'm not too tech savvy, and that's all stuff I need to look into to help grow my business. But I'm just more focused on growing, and you don't take the time to do those little things like that that can be so important.
Well, Peyton, next time you're sitting around on a Sunday or a Friday night having a glass of iced tea, go to my personal Facebook page, scroll down, and I've got like different tips on marketing, and there's one that walks you through setting up your Google Business Profile.
Yeah, I'll have to do that. Probably do that when we hop off of here.
So, yeah.
I mean, it's been raining so much. There's not much going on in the construction world down here right now.
Oh, really?
Oh, we've got an awful lot of rain for 0% days.
I'll tell you what, Peyton, I don't care if you live in Washington, Florida, Michigan, Texas. It's rained everywhere this year.
Yeah, it's the craziest thing. I actually took a screenshot on my phone. It was pouring down rain outside, and I looked at the weather app, and it said 0% for the next 5 hours, but at the top it said severe thunderstorm warning. So that's just kind of like, are y'all just throwing everything at it and see what it might rain, it might not?
That's just DARPA using that weather system to create storms.
Yeah, there's no telling what's going on, but it's some crazy weather. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I'm kidding. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I just thought it was funny. So since 2020, you've been rocking and rolling. You're still a solo owner, right? You don't have.
Yes, sir. Solo owner, solo operator. I've toyed around the idea of hiring somebody, but I work a lot of residential areas. I mean, right up on the house, and with these forestry mulchers, it's just that's a huge liability. One wrong move with that, and you're sending a log where it doesn't need to go.
Yeah.
So I have friends that, like, if I have to bring in an excavator or something, they'll come operate for me. But putting somebody on a mulcher, I don't know if I'm ready to do that yet. I just hadn't found the right person. Somebody with enough experience. You'll get people message you saying, yeah, I have experience running mulchers, but do you?
Right.
Are you going to call a brush cutter on a Bobcat a mulcher? Or have you actually run a drum mulcher and know how to leave a really good finished product efficiently? So that's all the things, but it's hard with mulching. I know your right-of-way guys and stuff like that doesn't really matter. Throw them on a machine. There's nothing to hurt. But running these residential jobs, there's really not a lot of people with the experience around here. The only people with the experience is really the competition.
Yeah, that's where you're going to have to hire for more desire and culture fit, and then train them.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably hire them as a laborer and then just train them up on the mulcher is what it's going to have to be.
Yeah.
Find the right job for them to just cut loose on and let them rock and roll.
You find the right guy that's got the right values and morals and enjoys working with you and puts customers first. You can train them everything else.
Yeah. So yeah, that's and I don't know, I'd almost rather prefer it by myself, but at the end of the day, you can't grow a company from the inside of a cab. It's not going to work. So,
no, but you can make a hell of a good living from the inside of a cab.
Yeah, I mean, you can. It's just when you're not too busy, it's okay. But it's because it's going to happen any day now. It does every year. The phone just starts blowing off the hook, and it's like, man, I can't even get out this machine long enough to go look at all these jobs. Like, I don't know if that drought hit y'all last summer, quite like it did down here, but from probably May to December, we just didn't get rain. So usually the rainy days is when I used to go bid my jobs, and we just didn't have that last year. So I was just rocking and rolling, and it gets hectic when it gets like that and you're just by yourself.
Yeah, you can only do so many 12 and 14-hour days in a row before you start to feel the effects.
Yeah, I mean, it gets to where you're waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go try to bid some jobs and get back to the machine by 6:37 and get back on. And then once you get off, you're going to look at more jobs. And then just keeping all of that organized, it gets tough by yourself.
And then you got to go home and build out your estimates, and you've got to manage your
Invoice,
receipts.
when it gets like that, just remembering to send the invoice. The most important part of the whole job is send the invoice out so you get paid. And it's just keeping up with all that. Like, man, did I send it? No, I forgot to send 3 of them.
Isn't that funny how we all do that?
Mm-hmm.
I just thought about that this morning. Actually, I have an invoice. I'm like, I should have never sent that invoice to that guy.
Yeah, I mean, you'll get those estimates out real quick to get the work, and then you just forget to send the most crucial part of the whole thing, the invoice.
Yep.
And I catch myself doing it a lot. I'll look and I'm like, man, I didn't send 3 invoices out last week. I better get on that, because I've got 30-day terms on my invoice. So the longer I wait, the longer they're going to wait.
Right.
They will wait to that 30-day mark to send that check in. They do it every time.
So you do that for residential customers also, or just commercial customers?
To be honest with you, I'm mainly residential.
And you give them 30-day terms?
Yep. I mean, it's just my QuickBooks is just set up on 30-day terms because I do work commercial. So those terms are there. But yeah, I mean, it's mainly residential. We get every now and again, there's some cell towers, stuff like that I'll go do, or cutting back property lines on these distribution centers down here, but it's a lot of residential.
Yeah. Do you have to chase down invoices a lot from residential customers?
Man, not very often. There's only 2 that I've had one of them still hasn't paid, and it's been 2 years, and I think he might have died. He was old. Because I went down there, I did some work for him. I mean, he paid me on the spot and asked me to come back and do some more work. I guess it wasn't so much residential for him. It was just a piece of property he owned. He thought was worth something. It wasn't worth anything, but he thought it was. And so the second time I went down there, I sent him the invoice. He viewed it. 30 days went by, sent the reminder, and now he hadn't even checked the reminder in the last 2 I've sent. So I've kind of given up hope on him. I think something might have happened to him. But the only other one, man, there was a lady, and we agreed to the price, but she didn't run it by her husband. So I went and did the work, and I mean, I was getting installments for like 4 months from her. She'd send me $100 here when she could, $100. Her husband didn't want to pay it. And I was like, well, you've signed the estimate right here. So you're kind of bound by this. The work's been done. Y'all want to sell this property, you're going to get a lien.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was going to bring up, is like, just lien the property.
Yeah. But the problem is, like with Venmo and all that, it charges you every time they send something through Venmo. So she was sending through Venmo. So every time she did, it was taking a little bit from me. So I really didn't make hardly anything with the amount of installments she did. And then she sent me a coffee cup with my logo on it to say thank you. So about a $5 coffee cup cost me probably $200 from Venmo.
Hey, you got that going for you at least.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great coffee cup. I still use it to this day. I was drinking out of it this morning.
That's funny. Oh man, that's funny. So I want to talk about you leasing that Bobcat machine. Like, what was the deciding factor that made you choose the lease? And then what was your experience with the lease?
So retaining capital was the main reason for going with the lease. And it was actually cheaper per month to do the lease than it was to put, say, 20,000 down. I mean, machines then, you could get that T770 for $80,000 fully loaded then. Things hadn't got out of hand yet. So I was looking at it from the standpoint, like, these things are more or less worthless after 2 years. They're ready to go out to pasture. Once that warranty's out on the mulching rig, it's you better be mechanically inclined if you want to keep rolling with it. So in my head, I was just like, man, at the end of 2 years, I can just step right into a brand new machine. I don't have to worry about the depreciation. It's 100% tax write-off when you lease. And I'm like, it seems like a win-win situation. So I did it, and things were fine. Salesmen down here, there's not much of a mulching world, or at the time there wasn't here. So the salesman really didn't know anything. Yeah, it's going to run that cutter head. And I didn't really know any better. I bought it just a smooth drum carbide Bobcat head. And that machine just couldn't do it. I mean, I had 14 or 15 warranty claims the first year. It was wild. And I mean, I ended up buying my ASV before I even finished the lease because I was like, I'm going to go out of business if I have to keep running this thing. But the problem with the leases, they call them a hell or high water lease. So there's no getting out of it. Unless you want to buy it out to the end, there's no getting out. So you kind of just have to eat it. And at the time, it was cheaper just to pay the note on the ASV and keep paying the lease than it was just to keep the Bobcat. I mean, the Bobcat sat idle for 6 months, not really doing anything because I was too scared to take it on a job. You bring it on a job, and I mean, even when everything was working good, it's overheating every couple of hours. And once it overheats once, it's over. It just keeps going. Whereas the ASV, I mean, that thing rock and rolls. It's going to get with the program. Really, unless you just don't blow it out, it's never overheating on you.
No, there's definitely manufacturers that have purpose-driven skid steers. But I know Cat's getting really big into like a forestry package. ASV's always had theirs. I've heard some
things about Cat. They might have something pretty cool coming down the pipe. Not exactly sure what it is, but I mean, to compete with that 135, they're going to have to do something. Which they might not even care about the mulching market. I know Cat sold out of their forestry division.
The last time I made this comment, I had a couple guys reach out to me and give me some shitty comments, but I still firmly believe this. The only reason Cat makes skid steers is so that they can sell them to the large civil companies and the mining companies. They don't build them for guys like you and me.
Nope. And they are pricey. I mean, they have a great warranty, 5 years.
Yeah.
But for what I do, I think ASV fits me better. I see Deere's got that 335 coming out, kind of spec'd out the same as the 120. So that may be an option in the future.
Yeah, but if you're doing land clearing and running those mulchers, you just got to be cautious of like the oversized radiators and
exactly
the cooling system and excuse me, all of that, because a standard skid steer doesn't like it.
No, I mean, you got to put it on a Cat. You have to put an auxiliary cooler on there, and even then, I hear like in the South, it's not going to keep up. You're still going to overheat. But especially like last summer, as dusty as it was, I was changing air filters frequently. You'd stop at lunch and your air filter weighed 3 pounds more than it did when you started that morning. The dust was so bad. I was telling everybody you couldn't see anything. I was like, man, I'm mulching my faith out here. I just hope there's nothing I hit. You can't see a thing. But thankfully we have rain now and that's over.
Yeah, we've had a lot of rain this year.
Yeah, it's one of the two extremes, it seems, every year. Too much or too little.
You'll get a kick out of this, Peyton. So last summer, I think it was in July. Excuse me, a little tick in my throat. We wanted to like rip out all the shrubs and trees around our house. We were on about an acre property, and there's like 25 bushes that were overgrown around the house, and like 7 or 8, I was like 15 trees that were either old and dilapidated or didn't belong where they were at.
Mm-hmm.
And my buddy calls me up in like the second week of July. He's like, hey, I got a couple days. I can come help you. We'll bring the skid steer and we'll get the mulcher and all that. And I'm like, it's July and there's no rain. He's like, well, it's either this or next spring. So we did my whole acre property, graded the whole thing, reseeded it. And I'm on a well. So I had to seed half my yard at a time because I didn't have enough well pressure to water the whole thing. And I was on timers, and every hour this one would go off, and then that one would go off, and then that one would go off. And it was draining to manage the damn watering of the yard last summer.
Yeah, I mean, last summer you really just had to do what you had to do. There was no easy way to go about anything. I know we were trying to build a pond in Mississippi, and it was just so dry. It's powder. You can't make a pond with powder.
No.
We only got up there, I think like maybe 1 or 2 inches last summer, something crazy like that. It was just a dust bowl. There was you weren't building a dam. If you did, the first rainstorm probably going to blow it out.
Right.
But yeah, so glad that's over. I never thought I'd say it was too dry to work, but it was too dry to work.
Yeah, we're usually bitching about the rain.
Yeah, we're usually complaining about the rain, and now we're complaining that there's not enough of it.
That's funny.
It's one of the two, it seems like.
Yep. So yeah, the lease was terrible. Was the lease terrible, or was the machine you leased the problem?
It was the machine. So if I had probably had a good experience with that, I'd have probably kept doing it because I don't really want to keep a skid steer with a mulcher more than 2 years anyway. And you keep them with warranty because everybody knows once warranty goes out, that's within 100 hours, you're going to have a failure. That's going to be costly. And you have buyout options at the end of these leases as well, and you can pick them up for relatively cheap and go flip them. So I'd say it's not a horrible thing. I'd say for a mulching unit, it's probably best just to stay away from it. You want something that you can, if it's just too much trouble, you can sell it and get out of it really at any time you want to get out. So,
yeah. I always tell the guys, man, I always tell the guys that do dirt work, keep an eye out on those machines that do mulching because you don't really beat the bejesus out of the machine. You beat the bejesus out of the hydraulic system.
Exactly.
So if you're a dirt guy, you can go pick up one of those for a song and a dance after 2-3 years of him running it on a mulcher and go use your bucket and your grader. And it's a great machine.
Yeah. A great machine. Got all the lift capacity in the world that you need.
Yeah. But it's just not meant to run that drum mulcher for another 2 years. Yeah.
I mean, even the best one, the ASVs, after a certain amount of time, they're not like a CMI or any of these other dedicateds where you're going to get 5,000 plus hours off of them. Now, there's exceptions, guys that take really great care of their equipment. They seem, I see some of these guys getting 5,000 hours off of an ASV. I don't know if they just take really good care or they just got lucky. But mine's, I'm bumping 2,000 right now. And I mean, it's the hydraulic coupler went out back in November. So that was a major failure. Had to get it towed into the shop and all of that. But other than that, it's just little minor things for me. That's really why I've kept the 120. And it seems like the 135 might still have some gremlins they're working out. So I hadn't really wanted to jump off and get into a 135 yet until I know it's all good.
Well, and I'm assuming because you do a lot of residential work, you have to worry about like the skid steer platform size too. Like you can't go to an oversized machine and still get in certain areas of residential properties.
Yeah, it'd be real hard with a steel track machine down here. Maybe with a triple grouser, you'd be okay, but single grousers, you're gonna tear some blacktop up or someone's driveway. That super track's really been something I've been looking into. I'm waiting for more people to run them and give feedback on them, but seems like a great machine, but I'm afraid it's still going to have skid steer problems at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, I'm just talking like we had a Case TV 450B wide track, and it was just a big unit. When we're doing like rough and final grades around houses, like you had to be real cautious because of the size of the machine. So there were some jobs we would actually rent my buddy's 259 just to be a little smaller and a little more nimble.
Yeah. I mean, using stuff like that, you can go get you a little, one of those little Kubotas or wherever they got at Home Depot for $200 for 4 hours and rock and roll with it. But yeah, these bigger units, I see the benefit of them as far as longevity and operating costs. Even though it costs a lot more initially, your operating costs are lower because if something does go down, you can open those bay doors in the back and put your hands on just about everything. So hydraulic hose blowing on an ASV, like for the cooling fan, that's a fix you don't want to mess with because you got to take a lot of stuff apart. But on those other machines, you can kind of reach everything you need to reach relatively easy.
Yeah, there's a benefit to being able to work on something conveniently.
No, especially in the field.
Yeah.
Being able to just put your hands on 90% of the parts is huge.
Yeah. I just took apart my Cub Cadet riding mower last night to change the drive belt motor or the drive belt. What a terrible design.
Yeah, most engineers don't think about the end user.
I mean, you had to take the engine bolts out so you could lift the bolt up to get the pulley, the battery out to change the back pulley. And then there's a bracket that the pulleys mount to, and then the bracket mounts to the frame.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I was out there for hours cussing Cub Cadet.
Yeah, simple fixes are out the door these days, it seems like.
Yeah, and I don't love doing that kind of work. So like I try to avoid it in the beginning. Like at the beginning of it, like can I hire it out? Like what's my time worth? But when I get
Is
into
it
a
worth me
project and
spending half a day doing this, or is it worth giving the guy at the dealership $150?
it's
I think
totally
I'm
worth
gonna give him
$150 to me.
$150 and let
Yeah,
him roll with it.
agreed. You could go out and do 7 estimates and go collect some invoices in that half a day if he's working on
Yeah,
that and you're not.
exactly. You can do a lot of stuff as a business owner in half a day.
And that's the mindset. A lot of business owners, especially solopreneurs, they don't grasp that.
Yeah, yeah. Your time is valuable, so it's just looking into all that.
Yeah. What's your plans moving forward? I know you talked about maybe not adding some crew. Are you going to just stick with the land clearing or diversify?
Man,
or?
I'm actually I'm looking into getting into erosion control. There's a lot of big development going on around here right now, so I'm thinking to kind of expand into erosion control. And end goal would be getting a dedicated machine and have that running the mulcher. And then I don't want to mulch with skid steers forever; they have their place. But if I could find the right dedicated where I can get it in these smaller areas, that'd be fantastic. And I think the way the engineers and the market's going with these things, I think within the next 4 or 5 years, there's going to be some really cool machines on the market. But I'll never, I mean, mulching gets in your blood. You hate it when you're doing it, but when you're not doing it, you wish you were doing it.
That's the best way I've ever heard it said.
Yeah. I mean, you hate your life when you're running that machine. It's like riding a bucking bull sometimes, but it rains for a few days. You really miss it. All you want to do is get back into it. But yeah,
That's
erosion
funny.
control. Our market around here is very flooded on the dirt work side. So that's why I never really messed with it. And I can do dirt work, but I'm not an ace at it. So if I can't do a phenomenal job on something, I'm just not going to do it. And I work with the 3 or 4 dirt companies around here, and we all help each other out. I'll do their mulching when they need it. And if I have a customer in their area that needs a pond dug or something like that, I'll send the contact over to them. So really just network that way. It works out better because, I mean, once you want to get in the dirt on the big side, you're looking at dozers, excavators, you're looking at a lot of overhead. Whereas you want to put in silt fence, you have the skid steer already. All you got to do is get the silt plow and a couple workers and roll with it.
That's a great niche. I think erosion control, and then it kind of goes with your land clearing too, because after you land clear some hillsides and stuff, you got to do erosion control anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, working by the bayous and the rivers down here, you're supposed to put the silt fence up, all that. They don't want the runoff going in there. So there's not a lot of guys in the area doing it. Maybe after this podcast, they might be. I'm not sure, but that's just something I'm kind of looking into expanding into. Because you don't have to hire operators for that. You're hiring laborers, and all they're doing is driving stakes and stapling. You're in the machine just running the plow. And I mean, end goal with that would be have a couple crews doing that and have somebody trusted running the mulcher, and I could take over more of a managerial standpoint.
Yeah. We talk about this a lot with a lot of guys about the process of hiring, like who your first employee should be. And I'm a big proponent of hiring an admin first, somebody to answer your phone calls, send your invoices, schedule material or maintenance, order your oil. Because all of those, if you think about how many hours you work a week just doing that, and I call them $15 an hour jobs.
Yeah.
That you could be doing your estimates, actual services.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like when it's busy and you're running the machine, you don't want to have to be stopping every 10 minutes to talk on the phone. If you have that call going somewhere else where they're writing down the info, that's huge.
Yeah. And with today's day and age, you could find a friend's wife that wants to be home with their kids.
Yeah.
You could get a voice over internet phone number. You've got QuickBooks Online, your email. Like it's all, you don't have to be in an office.
No, you really don't. Not anymore.
So you could do part-time, full-time, seasonal.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just such a convenient way, but it frees up so many hours of your time where if you hire a laborer first, all you're doing is buying your time to go do $15 an hour jobs.
Yeah, that's really it. Wait till you really need the labor, and then get him going. But yeah, somebody taking care of the administrative side, that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah, my first hire was a bookkeeper because I hate doing it.
Yeah, because I'm not a fan of it. I'd rather be out making money, and the administration, that is part of making money. You just don't look at it that way.
Yeah, I look at it as an expense to make money. Just the same way you do like your loan or your down payment on your machine. It's an expense so you can go make more money.
Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to be out in the field actually doing the work, but I mean, it's other stuff's just as important, if not more important, to keep.
Yeah, probably more important. Yeah, owning a business is tough. I mean, you've been doing it now for 5-6 years.
Yeah, it's a roller coaster, man. I don't think I'd have it any other way.
It gets in your blood, kind of like mulching does.
Yeah, it's right. You don't want to go. You don't want to go work for somebody else and have them. That was another one of my main reasons of getting out. I didn't like having 2 weeks a year that I could take off and go deer hunt. Now, I mean, if it's raining and I don't have anything going on, I could shoot up to Mississippi and rock and roll. You can't do that with a 9 to 5. Being stuck behind a desk doesn't seem too great either.
The best saying I ever heard was you can get busy building somebody else's dream, or you can get busy building yours.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. You're selling your time to build somebody else's dream. You're exactly right.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of hunting, you're an avid outdoorsman.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the main reason I want to make money, is so I can go deer hunt.
And then do you sell hunting properties also?
Yes, sir.
In addition,
I'm a licensed agent for Louisiana and Mississippi with Southern States Realty. You see hunting properties.
I saw that. I was. How long have you been doing that?
Oh, I guess I got licensed in 2019. Really didn't do anything with it for a year or two. I just got it because in my line of work, I'd always hear about people selling their land. And I wanted to at least have that option. If someone said they wanted to sell it, well, I can help you with that. And it's funny, when you get the license, you quit hearing about that sort of thing. But the mulching and that really do go hand in hand. I actually just got back from Mississippi 2 weeks ago. I sold a guy a big property a couple years ago, and we went in there and we developed it all out for bow hunting. We mulched down the sweet gum thickets to put in switchgrass, and just mulched in trails, all kinds of stuff. It's all the stuff I like to do. That's really my favorite part of this business, is setting up a hunting property. And that it's I love seeing people succeed, because they'll send you a text message in December or so with a big buck they shot. Or I got a lot of them. There's one guy I did a job for him. He had 4 acres and he wanted a food plot. We went and put it in. He shot 2 deer like within the next 3 days.
Oh, wow.
Every time I put in something about making a food plot on Facebook, he's commenting on there like, he knows what he's talking about. I killed a deer the next day. So he's really a good form of advertisement on my page.
Yeah, I think if you're in the right part of the country, that whole hunt property management, development, maintenance is a niche in and of itself.
People will go broke for deer hunting or fishing or anything. If it's their hobby like that, they will drop the money on that like they won't drop it on anything else.
Yeah. But like down here where we're at in Peoria, Illinois, if you can get tied in to that network, whether it be through realtors or supply company, who knows, there's an enormous amount of people from Chicago that own property down here to come hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're not going to manage their own property.
No, they don't. I mean, down here, people aren't driving too bad, but mostly down here, you have a lot of bigger hunting clubs from like timber companies and stuff like that. And I don't get as much work from them because it's real iffy on what you can actually do on the timber company land. But your private landowners, yeah, they're gonna drop some money to make it. They got a dream in their head, and all you got to do is drive around with them, reaffirm their dream, or tell them why their dream's stupid and we need to do it like this if you want this to work.
Yeah. I mean, you take that podcast episode that I did where we talked about selecting your niche and building a menu of services. You could do that exact same thing with hunt club property management, from food plot preparation to trails, shooting lanes.
Yeah, I mean, I do all that. I do consultations on properties. We'll go right around, try to see what your goals are, and just come up with a satellite plan. And if I can help you do it, great. If not, I got a guy with a dozer and an excavator that could be here tomorrow if you want to knock it out. So, I mean, a mulcher is not it's not always the answer.
No, but again, you could be selling your consultation services
Oh
in
yeah,
addition
we're
to your
selling
mulching.
that.
Yeah.
Yep. The mulcher does great for invasive species removal. I mean, these privet hedge and stuff like that's taken over so bad. Understory, deer has to pack a lunch to walk through a lot of these pine stands. There's nothing for them. So it does help. On that job I did in Mississippi, we were knocking down gum trees in the older pine plantation so he could quail hunt. So just fun stuff like that. That's the jobs I thoroughly enjoy doing. It's a lot better than hitting somebody's fence line that may or may not have an engine block hiding in it.
Yeah. I've told this story a couple times before, but we went out and shot video of my buddies. He was starting his excavation land clearing company here locally a couple of years ago. He went and bought one of those diamond disc mulchers. And so I took the drone out and I was shooting some video for him to help him promote his business. And he caught an old car rim. I was across the street in a second field and my truck was parked over there. That damn car rim shot, I don't know, 300 feet.
Yeah.
Cleared my truck in the second field by 3 feet. It almost landed right in the middle of my hood.
Golly. Yeah, it's that's another thing these new guys are getting into. They don't realize there is some dangers with this. I mean, I've shot manhole covers out, all kinds of stuff, unmarked gas lines, you name it. I hit a gas riser for a house that had been torn down for 20, 30 years. And everything was supposedly abandoned when they tore the house down. Nope. That riser, they cut it off about 3 inches above the ground. And just tapped it.
Oh, man.
I caught it with the mulcher. Luckily, it was just a small line. It didn't ignite or anything, but it was a fiasco. Had fire department, police, everybody was out there. So there really is some dangers with these things. The smallest piece of metal can really shoot out like a bullet. I mean, that's why we have these forestry doors on here to protect us, but it doesn't protect the people just hanging out watching you.
Yeah, you can tell them stay back 300 feet, but
they don't.
They don't. And two, depending on the projectile, 300 foot may not be far enough.
Yeah, I mean, you sling a tooth on one of these things, that's serious. That tooth's heavy. It's spinning pretty fast. It shoots out of there like a bullet. It can go pretty far and still hurt you. Yeah, my favorite is the people that come knock on the window while you're back dragging. I've had that happen probably 2 or 3 times. You'll just be backing up and they'll be walking next to the machine, tapping on the window. It's like, man, you have a death wish. I don't know what you're trying to accomplish here, but you could have waited by the truck.
Yeah. And it just goes back to, we do this work or you do this work every day, every week. They don't do it. They don't understand the difference. They don't understand the dangers.
It is a spectator sport. If there's any sort of people living around where you're working this thing, they're coming.
Oh, yeah.
I did a job in town back in October. It was a big 9-acre project. And there's these 2 guys, and every afternoon they'd have an ice chest of beer in their lawn chairs, and they just come watch me work when they got off. So
it's like Hank Hill and his buddies.
Exactly. Or you'll be doing some property line encroachment next to a neighborhood, and you'll be going, all you see is the top of a head poking up over the wooden fence. It's all the time, but they don't know this thing can really hurt them pretty bad.
Yeah. Do you let the neighbors know that you're going to be in their area doing that type of work?
I've been fortunate. Usually the landowner will do that for me. 9 times out of 10, when I get there, the landowner's like, yeah, I've already talked to the neighbors. They're good with everything. And I don't like to, especially when the city's making the landowner cut the property line back. Because with my experience, if you let the neighbors know, they're going to have special requests. So for the city of Lafayette, when you're cutting these property lines back 40 feet, all you're getting is the brush. You don't have to worry about the big water oak or live oak that's hanging over the property line. That's that's not on the ticket. But you start letting these people know what you're doing and why you have to do it, they're gonna hound you, the landowner, to come back and cut that tree. And it's going to cost just a lot more money. It's dangerous trees hanging over their fences. If it falls, I mean, it's an act of God. But they keep making complaints to the city to cut that big tree. So when it's stuff like that, I'll recommend to the customer, just don't let them know what's happening. Don't let them know you have to do this. You can tell them we're coming to do this just because you want a path around your property, but don't tell them why you have to do it, because you're going to end up having to spend more money.
Yeah. We look at informing customers around the property you're working on as a marketing opportunity for you as a business owner.
It is a great marketing opportunity.
So like really like getting a door hanger made up that you can just go hang on all their doors the morning of or the day, but like when you're getting there set up.
That's a great idea.
And the door hanger isn't you selling services. It's you just saying, hey, wanted to let you know we're in the area today. We'll be working with a mulcher. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, if we're too noisy, we're here to make sure that your neighborhood's better than something to that regard. But you're using it more as a way of saying, hey, if there's a problem or an issue, reach out to me.
Yeah. And then when they're talking to their friend, like, man, look at this thing I had behind my house and they want it done. And I mean, that way they have your phone number.
And now they got your number.
Yep.
And it's not a sales call. It's just an information.
Yeah. I mean, those little hangers, that's not expensive. That's relatively cheap to get a bunch of those made.
Yeah. We're actually putting the cat out of the bag here, but we're actually getting ready to partner with a marketing company that does a lot of print services. And we're actually going to have basically a Skid Steer Nation print shop that you can go to from our website and design brochures, business cards, yard signs, signs that you can take and set out. Just things, anything help you guys run your business from one hub at Skid Steer Nation.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, it's not live yet. We're actually redesigning our website, and when we launch the new website, we'll launch the print shop with it.
I got you. Yeah, that's I'll keep an eye out for that and wait for it to launch.
Yeah, so I think this episode will probably air around June 12th, 2024. We're probably hoping sometime by the end of June to have the new website live.
Great. Yeah, I'll keep an eye out for that.
Just like every project, man, the first 80% went real fast, real smooth. Now this last 20%, I'm like, it's going to take longer.
Yeah, you get down to the tedious stuff and all the nitty gritty. It was just like building a house. Once you get to drywall and paint, that's where things slow down. They'll frame the rest of that thing up pretty fast.
That's exactly where we're at, man. We're paint and trim.
Yeah, so nothing worth doing is ever easy.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, we got 4 people working on it on and off throughout every day of the week right now. And I'm just the guy that goes around nitpicking. Why is this there? Why is this there? Why can't this be there?
Hey, you gotta have a finger pointer.
I probably create more problems than I solve.
Well, at the end of the day, it's your website.
Well, I also go in and fix half the stuff. I've had to teach myself how to use these softwares. I'm like, if you're going to be an e-commerce business owner, you better know how to use the softwares.
Yeah, you better figure a thing or two out.
You know, like if I was going to go start doing land clearing, I better know how to work on that mulcher.
Yeah, it is. I mean, a mulcher's favorite thing to do is break.
And find wire.
Oh yeah, whether it's a tooth holder or wiring issue, those things just love it.
Yeah. How often do you have to grind the teeth on that?
So I sharpen daily.
Daily.
I find best production with that, and I probably change my teeth a little sooner than other people will. But I found with the pre-knot head, they get to a certain point where they still have a lot of life. You just don't get the performance out of them like you were. They don't hold an edge that great, but probably the first, I'd say 60% of the tooth is phenomenal. And after that, I'm looking at changing them because production goes down.
Yeah.
So you almost have to bid a job because you never know what life phase your teeth are going to be at when you get to that job. So you almost have to bid them like you're on a bad set of teeth, because there's a pretty drastic difference from fresh to, okay, we need to look into changing these things.
How long does that usually take I mean, if you're using it 20, 30 hours a week,
So, I mean, usually if you ran them all the way down to the nub, I'd say you can get probably 100 hours out of them. Some guys might say more, but down here is tough because every patch of woods has something in it that you can't see. So whether it be a T-post or just a couple bricks hanging out under the poison ivy, you can look as hard as you want and you won't see it. So you're going to have a lot of wear and tear on your teeth from that. Now you might get on a run, like I'm on a run right now. I've been hitting these jobs. There hadn't been a lick of rock or metal in them. And these teeth, after 30 hours, they still look great. But just hitting metal and stuff like that, barbed wire, it's and everybody swears I used to bush hog this land. There ain't nothing in there. And it's all a lie.
Oh, never believe them.
No, you never believe them. And I've learned what to look for. If you're in something that's probably 6 or 7 years of growth and they got patches in there that look like they're 10-year growth out in the middle, there's probably some metal hiding in it or a rock pile. There's something. You learn to look for that kind of thing. But in some of this vegetation, you can't even walk through it, much less see some scrap metal hanging out down there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all that has to be bid accordingly. If you see one piece of metal, you better be adding some percentage to that price to make it worth your while.
So do you bid hourly, daily, by the project?
No, I was doing daily. And then the market kind of got flooded down here and my day rate seemed really high. So after that, I would just go and I knew about how long it would take me to do it. And I'd go on fixed price bids. And that seems to have worked just better than giving them an estimate. Because like I tell them, daily and hourly, in my opinion, it's the same thing. So that leaves an open end for me to just say, yeah, I thought it was going to take this long, but now I'm going to charge you more and keep going. I find the customer's probably going to lose on an hourly. And most people I found they want to know what they're paying. They don't want a range. They want a set price. So even I estimated to them this will be 2 days. That'll cost $4,000. Or I go give them a fixed price at $5,000. However long it takes me to do it, however long it takes me to do it. More than likely, they're going to go with that fixed price. And they don't like the loose ends, I guess you could say.
We see that all the time. Like you're being brought in to solve a problem.
Mm-hmm.
What's the cost to solve the problem?
Yeah, because I mean, you go up against there's some guys just charging stupid low rates down here. You go in against these guys, and I know they got their machine a month ago. I know they have a Kubota 97 with a carbide head. It's going to take them a while to do this. So yeah, they're going to say, yeah, it's going to take, because they read online where every skid steer can apparently cover every acre in a day. You see it all the time. I mean, even with that ASV, there's some stuff I might get half an acre in a day, depending on what it is. But they'll go on a blanket price and say, yeah, I can get an acre a day of this. It's going to take X amount of days. And they get halfway through and they try to hit the customer with a change order. So I'd rather just give one firm price. I've been in just about every habitat you could come in down here. So I generally know about how long it's going to take. Now you always get those curveballs that hit you out, but that's why you just got to add some percentage to your bid.
Yeah. And let's be honest, you might have a job here and there where it's a wash.
Yeah.
Because something comes up. But if you're getting $5,000 for a $4,000 project that you would have gotten charging day rates, and you can do that numerous projects throughout the year, you're still way ahead.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I learned that bush hogging when I first started out. People didn't want an hourly price. They wanted, well, I know I can get an acre and a half, or I can get an acre an hour. And I was charging at the time $50 an hour. So I would just come in and tell them $60 an acre. And I'm making $10 an hour more than what I would have been doing before. But the customer's happy. They got a fixed price and rock and roll. They'll pay more just because they know what it's going to cost.
Yep.
they don't want you to tell them it's going to take 3 days and then it ends up taking 10.
Correct. And you as a business owner, I've heard this from a lot of guys, especially in the land clearing. If you charge a day or an hourly rate, a lot of customers actually track your time.
Yeah. Yeah. They will 100% be out there. So you go out there and give them that's another reason I stopped doing it. Because those days where you're going to win, you charge the day rate for an 8-hour day and it's coming up on hour 5 and you're about to wrap this bad boy up. Well, he sees you're on hour 5 and well, he's got more he wants you to go do now. And you're not going to get charged for that. Well, if you give him a fixed price, when he asks you to go do that, it's like, well, we already agreed on this. It's going to be more. So you can actually make more money doing it that way as opposed to doing more work for free.
Right. And I've had guys that stop to answer phone calls or eat a lunch, and the customer actually brings up, well, that skid steer didn't move for 45 minutes.
Yeah, they will track your time. I mean, some of these old retired guys, they have nothing better to do. So they'll sit out there in the lawn chair and watch you all day and make sure you're doing exactly, you're going to work exactly how long you told them you were going to work.
Yep.
And they don't want to see you stop 30 minutes early because you finished. They want you to keep back dragging. Just keep going. Doesn't matter that it's done. Keep at it.
Right. And I'm a firm believer, man. Fixed pricing bids, it allows you to add more value in your line items. And you can actually increase your profits the way you're talking about it. And it takes the customer out of the equation because he doesn't have to worry how hard you're working and how many days this is on.
Yeah, because I mean, especially like in the mulching world, you have some of these failures. The machine needs to stay running, but you got to go out there and fix it. And they'll see you down like that, and they're counting your hours doing that. So you have to adjust accordingly. And I mean, I've had, when I was charging day rates and all that, I sucked up a hurricane fence into the cutter head. And that was just a pain in the ass to really get that out of there. I had to get a big set of loppers. A hurricane fence, probably the worst thing ever been caught in there. But you best believe they don't want to pay for that. They're definitely going to bring that up that you sat there for 3 hours getting roll a hurricane fence out of there that they told you wasn't there.
Right.
That they more than likely put there 5 years ago themselves.
So now you got to fight with them. And even if you win, you lose because guess what they're going to do?
They're going to badmouth you.
They're going to go badmouth the shit out of you.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to be like, well, this guy didn't operate his equipment right and sucked up this stuff he didn't see, and he's charging me to get it out of there. They're not going to say the stuff where they told you it wasn't there in the first place.
Right.
Or the fact that they put it there with their cousin 2 years ago.
Yeah, but if you charge a project price and you got to spend 3 hours getting it out, they don't care.
Yeah. It sucks to be you.
Right.
And so that's why I do more fixed bids. And what I see is people are still asking for a day rate. And it's really hard to get them off of that because it's more than likely people I don't want to work for anyway.
Right.
They're just looking for, I don't offer value. I offer the best job you can have done with a mulcher in this area. If you're a value shopper, I'm not going to be your guy. And that's part of really my sales pitch. I mean, if you want cheap, call somebody else. If you want it done the best it can possibly be, call me.
Yeah.
And honestly, that gets you more jobs than you would think, just telling them that to the right customer. But I'd say the problem with forestry mulching is not enough people really know what it is. And they don't know it's a bad job until 2 months after it's done, when they actually go try to maintain it. And then they start seeing these 6-foot pieces of log down there. I mean, the shock factor at first, yeah, everything's open that wasn't open before. So it looks great. But then you go try in there and start maintaining and all that, and even the bush hog can't do it, and you have to get somebody else to come back in there and fix it.
Right. And that happens a lot with land clearing.
Oh, yeah. It's and you have to educate your customers on that. I mean, I don't ever go post slander photos or anything on Facebook, but if I'm in a bidding situation, I have pictures on my phone for companies I've had to go behind. I'm like, well, if I'm bidding against them, this is their work.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to scroll through mine, there's a reason you called me. If it doesn't look like slicked off dirt, you don't want it.
Yep. And I'll be honest, Peyton, like if you created a little one sheet brochure that talked about what a customer should know about forestry mulching and questions they should ask a contractor before they accept the bid.
Mm-hmm.
And every estimate you went and did, you left that with them saying, hey, in case you're getting some other estimates, I just want to make sure you're educated to make that you get the right job.
Yeah.
That trust alone would make them go, I'm just going to hire him.
Yeah. I mean, you're 100% correct, because this, like I said, you don't know a bad mulching job if you don't know what a good mulching job looks like.
Well, and I think the term forestry mulcher is part of the problem, because even guys in the industry have a hard time telling customers what it means.
Yeah. And it's really, it's learning how to say no to some jobs, because some people are going to want you to go in there, and even once you go in there and do the best you can do, you won't be able to maintain it.
Right.
Now, if it's something where they're just buying the property and they want to go knock the brush down and see what bigger trees they want to keep and which ones they want to take out, that's fine. But you'll get in these backyards, they want to clear the back acre behind their house, and you still have all these trees so tight together, you'll never get in there and do anything with it. You'll never be able to maintain it. I've just learned to try to educate them that forestry mulching is not the route for this, because it's not going to be what you want long term. Because you can go look at jobs like that, and there's guys that are glad to go do it, and it's not so much most guys would probably get those bigger trees. They're just lazy, so they're just going to run through there and get the privet hedge. They're not going to worry about the bigger chicken trees, and they just leave it. It still looks like a jungle, and within a year, everything else has grown back up, and you can't really do much with it. You're kind of back to square one.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's not always the answer. It's a great tool when needed, but I think to gain customers' trust, you need to be able to tell them when this is not a good idea to do.
You have to. Being honest will take you a long way, and customers will just talk better about you when you get brought up.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. I can't tell you how many places I've seen around here where they're mulching this stuff and they're wanting to put a house pad right there. So yeah, we're just going to go put a house pad on top of these 12-inch stumps. Let's do it. What could go wrong?
What could go wrong?
Yeah, so it's just, I mean, portraying to the customer that you actually know what you're talking about and not just be a yes man. I'll do whatever you want. It's like, maybe we should dial this back and look at some other options. We can mulch the rest of this, but maybe, just maybe, let's stump these trees out where you're planning on putting your house, and not use mulching as just a blanket solution to everything, because 9 times out of 10, it is not the last part of the process anyway.
Right. That's good advice, man. Really good advice. I love talking about the pricing and the reasons why, educating customers, because it's a tough niche. Like, everybody in this industry thinks it's cool, they want to do it, but most customers have no idea what it means.
It's got to be the most expensive thing you can do in this industry.
It's not cheap.
It is. I mean, just having a bulldozer doesn't have to change its teeth every 100 hours. Excavator doesn't have to do that. I mean, these machines are running wide open all day. I mean, you're drinking fuel, 50 gallons a day or so. You're just, they don't understand this, and educating the customer. And then when it breaks down the customer's property and they get to see firsthand, like, oh, I get why you charge what you charge. But that's all things you don't think about when you get into this, because it's crazy. I can go clear, let's say, an acre, and I got $3,000 to clear that acre. Well, someone comes in behind me, and all they do is dig a little ditch, just the smallest little trench to get some water to drain up. They charge $3,000 for that. They were there for 30 minutes. And the customer is more worried about the $3,000 he paid to clear the acre than he is to pay $3,000 for what he could have done with a shovel if he wasn't lazy. And it blows my mind how land clearing is so undervalued to the consumer, because it's one of the main. You can't do the first bit of dirt work with these trees here.
But I think that's why it's undervalued because you're paying for a part of the process, not the finished result.
Yep. I mean, house pads, I mean, what you're looking at $13 a yard to build a house pad. They're there for half a day and making a killing off of you.
Right. But when they leave, you can go out as a customer and you can see the house pad.
Now, I mean, some of that real dense stuff that you get into and these customers, I mean, the best is when you go out to look at the job and the customer has a tent set up with chainsaws and axes under it, and he's got an area about 20 foot by 20 foot he's been hacking on for a month. That, you can probably charge that guy about whatever you want to charge him because he's tired of dealing with it. And that's the guy that's going to be really appreciative once you finish up, because you go in there in about 15 minutes, you doubled what he's done in a month on his weekends.
Right.
And you see it, I see it all the time. They'll have a tent set up out there with their ice chest and the whole family's there. They're just hacking trees. And their backs hurt, their hands are blistered. They don't want to do this anymore. So they're going to hire somebody. And that's the ones that are really appreciative. But some of them, it's just like, yeah, good, it's cleared. It shouldn't have costed as much as it cost, even though it cost more to do than the dirt. I mean, you don't get that kind of wear and tear on an excavator.
No.
Or a dozer. I mean, those things are more or less idling most of the day. And then when the truck comes in, dumps the dirt, then they get back on it, and then they're hanging out again. So it's just educating customers about what it is and how much it costs and why we're charging what we're charging to make this all make sense, because sometimes it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, you touched on one topic. I kind of want to wrap up the show with this last conversation, but you made a comment about how not every customer is the right customer for you.
Yeah, you have to learn to say no to some people.
Did you do you have boundaries that you follow or certain rules or guidelines? So
what I'm looking for is the way they interact with me. It's like when they message you on Facebook, I'm looking at that. I'm looking at them bad mouthing other companies, because I've had people, they bad mouth companies, and I'm like, man, that guy does really good work. I actually work with him on stuff. So I know it's not him. I know it's you. Or the person that's just like, what's your day rate? And you tell them something like, well, such and such says they'll do it for this much. Well, can I get that in writing? No, I can't get it in writing. Well, I'm not matching their price then. I wouldn't match their price anyway. But some people want value, and you can actually go look at the Facebook's beautiful. You can actually go on these people's pages and see how they drag companies through the mud. And you just don't want, sometimes you have to fire a customer. Like, prime example, I've got one guy I've done work for, and every time I finished working for him, it was different specs in his head than what he actually told me. So I put in a 50-foot lane going through his whole property as a shooting lane, and met with him, had it all drawn up on Onyx with all the dimensions, sent it to him, all good. Well, job was done. He says, oh, that was supposed to be a 100-foot lane. So, well, you should have said something if you wanted 100 foot, because I'm not going to charge you half price, 50 versus 100. And I did another, I said I wouldn't work for him again, but the machine was by his place, and he called me. So I went back, tree fell over that lane. Well, I mulched it up little into the woods past the edge. I mean, this tornado wrecked his property. And he sends pictures of the treetop off to the side of the lane in the woods, not an issue, right next to a bunch of other treetops, and saying, I really wish you would have got this. So just stuff like that. And a customer that wants a price on their property without you going look at it, and they don't want you going look at it, is another one I don't want to work for, because all they're doing is price shopping. That, and I mean, around here it was bad for a while. Competitors were making fake accounts just to try to get your pricing.
Wow.
So I tell everybody, they'll message me, what's your day rate? And I'll be like, look, I offer fixed bids. If you want me to come out there, I'll be glad to do it. Estimates are free. I can get out there at your convenience and take a look at it. And if they don't want to do that and they keep hammering you for a price, then I don't want to do it. Or the ones that they want more. They want more than what was agreed upon. I'll kind of blacklist them. They try to get you to do extra stuff for free or stuff like that, and they're just never happy. People are never happy. I don't want to work for them because I haven't had one bad complaint. I know it's not me.
Yep. Great advice across the board on that. I think, where you're currently at in your business, you've obviously learned a lot of lessons over the last 6 years, and you've grown from them as far as how you're going to bid projects, the customers you want to work with. And that's 9/10 the battle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, just, you don't want to work for everybody. Not everybody's a good customer, because even if you do a good job, they're still probably going to badmouth you.
Yep.
They'll find something down the road that they didn't tell you to do and then go badmouth you about it. So once that starts happening, they'll always call you back to go do more work for them. Like, well, you badmouthed me last time to such and such. I don't want to go back and work for you if you're going to just continuously badmouth me.
Right.
And you have to protect your reputation. It's worth losing that $2,000 or $3,000 to somebody else. Let them go be that person's headache. And you just go focus on good customers. I have great customers I've built up over the years. And that's what I want to deal with, good people.
Yeah. And you could worry about the $3,000, but do you know how many hours you're going to spend bickering or checking things online or stressing out over?
Yeah, exactly. And everybody, it's so easy for people to get online now and just go say whatever they want to say because they're not in front of you. So you really just have to read the situation. I mean, you can go bid a job for somebody and you're like, yeah, I know they're not going to pay me. I'm going to give them such a high price to do this, because you don't want to be rude about it and be like, no, I'm not going to work for you. But you go over there and it's just like, this is not going to work. I can see I'm not getting paid off of this job. There's warrants on the door, whatever. And you just don't want to work for those people. It's not worth it in the long run.
Yep.
There's nothing worse than go and do a job and actually not getting paid for it. I mean, me and some of the local guys talk, so we know some of these people. And when they call us, we just don't answer the phone. If they burned another contractor, when they call the other guy, we're not going to talk to them. You can get one of the boys from Texas that comes over here during the winter when they're slow. They'll knock it out for you. But other than that, we're not going to do it.
Good for you. Good for you. Peyton, man, thanks so much for taking time out of your day and joining us and sharing your story and your insights. More importantly, I love your insights on bidding, customers, and how you're operating your business day to day right now. So thank you so much.
Yeah, man, it's been fun. I didn't think I'd be this talkative, but here we are.
I'm glad you were. I like a good conversation, man. I thought today was great.
You run these machines every day.
Yeah, it gets pretty quiet and lonely in there, isn't it?
Yeah. You go on a bender 2 or 3 weeks and you forget how to socialize after that.
Yeah, I work from home, so there's days I feel the same way.
Yeah, it's been fun. Happy to be here.
Awesome, man. Well, guys, it's another week, another episode. Keep those hands on the joysticks. Keep pushing forward. Keep grinding. It doesn't get easier, but it does get better. If you want some help with your business journey, head over to groundbreakinggrowth.com and schedule your free discovery call with me, and we can take a look at your business and develop a customized plan to help you grow and scale. Till next week, guys, take care.